Ex-FBI agents accuse top CIA, FBI officials of 9/11 cover-up. CIA said to use Saudis and others for illegal domestic spy operations. That's what the title is for today. And I'm going to be reading you a report that is on our CVINE website. That's c-fine.com, c-fine.com. This is pretty explosive, and you guys may want to pay close attention. I'm going to be going over this fairly quickly, so please go to the CVINE website to go ahead and read it, anything that you missed here, but you do want to hear this. Okay, our discussion is going to be on CVINE 9/11, and it's going to be about the court of public opinion, and it's going to involve the research and the report from Dan Christensen, published by the Florida Bulldog. Okay, he states, weeks before 9/11, an angry New York FBI agent nearly came over the table at CIA officials who were blocking him from obtaining intelligence about two al-Qaeda terrorists who would soon take part in hijacking an American Airlines passenger jet and crashing it into the Pentagon. Excuse me. Someone is going to die, the counterterrorism agent wrote in a bitter email shortly after the 2001 encounter. That astonishing account and many others are contained in a sworn declaration by Donald Canestraro, an investigator for the Office of Military Commissions, part of the Department of Defense's Military Commissions Defense Organization. It is dated July 20th, 2021. Canestraro said in a brief interview with Florida Bulldog that he is part of the defense team for Guantanamo detainee Amir al-Baluchi, a Pakistani citizen who is awaiting trial with four other men accused of planning the 9/11 attacks. His declaration includes the results of his interviews with 11 ex-FBI agents, 2 ex-CIA agents, and a CNN investigative journalist, former Deputy National Security Advisor Richard Clarke, and former Senator Bob Graham, Democrat, Florida, co-chair of Congress's Joint Inquiry into 9/11. Excuse me, the 22-page declaration, first obtained by the national security website Spy Talk, is not confidential, but rather it's marked CUI, meaning controlled unclassified information. The Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency defines CUI as government-created or owned information that requires safeguarding or dissemination controls consistent with applicable laws, regulations, and government-wide policies. Okay, so what he's talking about is a remarkable document. Okay, now he states, is nevertheless remarkable for its accounts supporting the veracity of long, public, yet highly disturbing allegations that top CIA officials, including Director George Tenet, intentionally withheld vital intelligence from the FBI that might have prevented the September 11, 2001 al-Qaeda attacks on New York and Washington, specifically that known operatives and future hijackers, Nawaf al-Hamzi and Khalid al-Mindhar, had entered the U.S. in Los Angeles shortly after attending an al-Qaeda summit meeting in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in early January 2000. The new accounts, mostly obtained during interviews in 2016 and 2018, flesh out that narrative. They also support the ominous theory, never fully explored by either the 9/11 Commission or Congress, that the CIA was kept silent because it was secretly working hand in glove with its Saudi Arabian counterpart to recruit Hamzi and Mindhar as informants. Except for Clarke and Graham, the people interviewed are not named or identified by gender because they spoke on condition of anonymity. Canestraro states that he knows who they are and he declined to identify them to Florida Bulldog. Enough descriptive information is provided in the text. However, that is possible to identify several interviewees. In other words, you can figure out who they are if they really wanted to. The unredacted declaration is remarkable for another reason. It comes from litigation in the U.S. military court at the Guantanamo Bay detention camp, where government censors routinely scrub and or withhold court filings and transcripts in the name of national security. Its disclosure raises questions about what other information about September 11th is being kept secret at Guantanamo from the 9/11 families and the American public. According to his declaration, Canestraro was a DEA agent for 21 years when he joined the Office of Military Commissions in April of 2016. During July of 2016, I began an investigation into the possible involvement of the Saudi Arabian government and the Central Intelligence Agency in the events leading up to the 9/11 attacks. A rare interview begins. Canestraro's initial review of discovery documents provided by the government to the defense focused on Omar al-Boyoumi and Fahed al-Thamari. Boyoumi was an apparent Saudi intelligence officer who had numerous contacts with Hamzi and Midbar and helped them obtain an apartment in San Diego. Thamari was a Saudi consular official in Los Angeles and a local religious leader. Boyoumi, Thamari, and a third man, Musad al-Jara, deputy head of Islamic affairs at Saudi embassy in Washington, are named as principal subjects of the FBI's Operation Encore, a once-secret FBI probe into Saudi government involvement, first made clear in an October 2012 FBI report obtained by the Florida Bulldog amid Freedom of Information Act litigation in 2016. The report says Jara tasked Boyoumi and Thamari with helping the hijackers. In September 2021, President Biden issued an executive order directing the Department of Justice and other federal agencies to conduct declassification reviews of documents regarding Operation Encore, referred into the order as subfile of the FBI's primary Pent bomb investigation, and to publicly release as many documents as possible. The FBI has released thousands of pages so far, including records previously declared to be kept state secrets that say Saudi government officials knowingly provided a support network for Hamzi and Mindhar, the first two al-Qaeda hijackers to enter the U.S. Canestraro's client, Amir al-Baluchi, also known as Ali Abdul Aziz Ali, is a nephew and co-defendant with Clarke Sheikh Mohammed, the alleged mastermind behind 9/11. Government documents allege that from banks in Dubai, he transferred tens of thousands of dollars to SunTrust Bank account in Florida, jointly owned by 9/11 attackers Marwan al-Shabi and Muhammad Atta. Atta flew American Airlines Flight 11 into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Shahi was at the controls of United Airlines Flight 175 when the Boeing 767 crashed into the South Tower. Baluchi, like Muhammad, was captured in Pakistan in 2003 and held by the CIA 3 years at overseas black sites, where he was reportedly tortured before being transferred to Guantanamo in 2006. He, Muhammad, and 3 others, Walid bin Atash, Ramzi bin al-Shabi, and Mustafa Ahmed al-Hawasi, all face capital charges, and the government has previously said it would seek the death penalty. No trial date has been set. Well, actually, they're in plea deals right now. But anyway, I digress. CIA spied on the FBI. The CIA's lack of cooperation with the FBI is discussed in detail in the declaration. One ex-FBI agent worked under CIA control at Osama bin Laden's UBL station, also known as the ALEC station, discussed how a colleague had prepared a Central Intelligence report outlining the possible presence of al-Hamzi and al-Midhar in the U.S., but was not allowed to forward it to the FBI for action. Two former FBI agents stated that the CIA even spied on the FBI as it investigated 9/11. Canestraro's declaration says that in the spring of 2021, a former agent with extensive experience in terrorism and counterintelligence matters explains that after the attacks, it became impossible for the FBI to unilaterally conduct a terrorism or counterintelligence investigation without the tacit approval of the CIA. CS2, which is some of these letters and names I'm giving you now, is how they are identifying some of the individuals that are being interviewed by Canestraro. Okay, so CS22 further related that the officers of the local CIA domestic station located in her office of assignment would frequently sit in the command centers of local FBI field offices while FBI agents conducted operations related to counterterrorism to monitor FBI activities. CS22 told me that the above made it easy for CIA officers to monitor FBI activities. Another former FBI agent known as CS8 said that immediately following the 9/11 attacks, an intelligence officer was detailed to the FBI's San Diego field office. CS8 recalled that the officer was supposed to be assigned to the San Diego office to further information sharing between the FBI and CIA. However, CS8 later learned the officer was actually examining FBI files in an attempt to blame the FBI for the intelligence failures that led to 9/11. The ex-New York FBI counterterrorism agent who tussled with the CIA, referred to into the declaration as CS-12, was assigned to work the bombing of the USS Cole in Yemen in the summer of 2001. That June, CS-12 was present during a meeting between the CIA and FBI officials. CIA loses track of Hamzi and Midhar. The CIA was said to have sought the meeting after being unable to locate some terrorist suspects. CIA officers showed 3 surveillance photos, didn't say where or when they were taken, but asked if one of the Fahd al-Quiso, a suspect in the Cole bombing, was one of the suspects in the Cole bombing. CS-12 didn't know. When FBI agents asked, he asked the CIA whether stops had been put in place to prevent those suspects from entering the U.S. Frustrations grew. CS5, another former FBI special agent, said the New York agent was so adamant that the CIA provide information for her investigation that she nearly came over the table at the CIA officials at the meeting with the FBI's counterterrorism squad prior to 9/11, the declaration says. CS-12 later learned that 2 of the photos were of Hamzi and Midhar. The declaration says, Quaiso was killed in a U.S. drone strike in Yemen in 2012. On August 23rd, less than 3 weeks before the attacks, the New York FBI agent opened an EC, also called an electronic communication from FBI headquarters, about the photographs it contained, with information showing that al-Hamzi and al-Midhar were in the United States. The declaration does not say it, but it has long been reported that the photos were snapped at the Malaysian Al-Qaeda gathering. The agent contacted an FBI analyst at headquarters. The conversation became heated when the analyst told CS-12 that she was not authorized to view the EC and that he was ordered to delete it immediately. Why? Because information had been obtained from intelligence sources and that the bureaucratic wall between intelligence and criminal investigations precluded the agent from seeing it. The next day, the agent, the analyst, and the acting chief of the FBI's Osama bin Laden unit had met in a 45-minute conference call. During the call, officials at FBI headquarters told CS-12 to stand down and to cease looking for Khalid al-Midhar, and that headquarters was looking to open an intelligence gathering investigation of Midhar. The following day, the agent emailed the analyst warning someone is going to die unless the case against Midhar was pursued further. Fuel for recruitment theory. Immediately after the attacks, FBI headquarters in the New York office met again. It was during this call that CS-12 learned that al-Midhar and al-Hamzi were on the flight manifest of one of the planes that were used in the attacks. CS-12 recalls that the conference call then became quite heated between the New York agents and headquarters personnel. On September 14th, CS-12 contacted the FBI analyst who produced a fourth photograph from the same surveillance operation. The photo was of Walid bin Atash, who was readily identifiable due to his missing leg. Had the New York agents been shown that photo earlier, CS-12 said they would have immediately linked al-Hamzi and al-Midhar to bin Atash, a prime suspect in the bombing of the USS Cole. As a result, the inquiry would have been able to devote the full resources of the FBI's New York field office to efforts to find the two hijackers later in the summer of 2001. What happened fueled the theory that the CIA didn't tell the FBI that two al-Qaeda terrorists were in the U.S. to protect their secret plan to recruit Hamzi and Midhar as informants. One former senior FBI official, whose identity, if known to me, dubbed CS-16, told Canestraro, the FBI's New York City office, wasn't told that Hamzi and Midhar were in the country until August 26, 2001. CS-16 stated that the CIA withheld the information that the two hijackers had entered the country in 2000 from the FBI on orders from two CIA employees, Richard Blee and Tom Wilshire. CS-16 stated that it was her opinion that the information was withheld as the CIA was attempting to recruit al-Hamzi and/or al-Midhar as intelligence sources while they were in the U.S. Blee became the chief of UBL station in 1999 and was in charge there on 9/11. Wilshire was Blee's deputy. FBI agent CS-5 said the CIA's reluctance to tell the FBI about the two al-Qaeda figures didn't make sense to many New York agents and led CS-5 to conclude that the CIA was running an intelligence operation targeting al-Qaeda that somehow involved Hamzi and Midhar. CS-5 believed the CIA operation may have spun out of control, and they came to the FBI in June 2001 with limited information in an attempt to locate the hijackers without revealing the true nature of the extent of their operations against al-Qaeda. Yet another ex-FBI agent said to have extensive knowledge of counterterrorism and counterintelligence matters stated in June of 2021 that the effort to recruit Hamzi and Midhar was an operation directed by the Central Intelligence Agency. CS-23 told me the CIA used their liaison relationship with the Saudi intelligence services to conduct an operation on U.S. soil. CS-23 told me that the Saudis were used as a go-between, as the CIA is forbidden by law to conduct intelligence operations within the U.S. The CIA has used its relationship with allied intelligence services to conduct operations inside the United States in the past, the declaration says. The CIA's false flag recruitment operation as follows. Former Deputy National Security Advisor Richard Clarke gave a similar account, adding that prior to the attacks, Deputy CIA Director Cofer Black had told him the CIA had no human intelligence sources inside al-Qaeda and that he was determined to change that. Clarke also said that he nor the FBI was told about Hamzi and Midhar because the CIA was running a false flag operation to recruit the hijackers. According to Mr. Clarke, this false flag operation would have involved al-Buimi befriending the two hijackers by attempting to convince them that he was sympathetic to their cause. At the same time, al-Buimi would have been reporting on the hijackers' activities to Saudi intelligence and ultimately to the CIA. Mr. Clarke stated that when he proclaimed this belief publicly, he received an angry phone call from the former director of the CIA, George Tenet. Mr. Clarke noted, however, that Mr. Tenet did not deny the allegations made by Mr. Clarke. Both Clarke and former Senator Graham were critical of the 9/11 Commission, saying it did not investigate the Saudi connection to the 9/11 attacks completely. Clarke added that the Commission's executive director, Philip Zietlow, was selected by the National Security Advisor, Condoleezza Rice, to prevent damage to the Bush administration by blocking the Commission's line of inquiry into the Saudi connection. Mr. Clarke told me that the operation to penetrate al-Qaeda may have been organized by high-level employees of the CIA. Mr. Clarke stated that he believed that most of the records of the CIA's operation to penetrate al-Qaeda through al-Buimi were destroyed in an effort to cover up the operation, the declaration says. An ex-FBI agent, CS3, working under CIA control at Osama bin Laden Station, also known by the code name ALEC Station, after the son of its first chief, discussed how a colleague had prepared a Central Intelligence report outlining the possible presence of al-Hamzi and al-Midhar in the U.S., but it was not allowed to forward it to the FBI for action. CS3 stated that he or she believed at the time that the CIA prevented the distribution of the CIR. The agency did not want the FBI interfering with CIA operation that was also being run domestically in violation of U.S. law, the declaration says. The FBI covered up too. While most criticism in the declaration is directed at the CIA, higher-ups at the FBI were also targeted at the FBI agents' complaints. An ex-agent in the Bureau's Washington field office, referred to as CS9, was part of a squad tasked with investigating leads developed into the attacks. CS9 told Canestraro that agents were told they were not permitted to interview Saudi nationals in support of their investigation. CS9 stated that many of the leads developed during his or her investigation pointed toward the Saudi diplomats stationed in Washington, D.C. Another former FBI agent, CS4, who in the spring of 2002 supervised two other FBI agents assigned to the CIA's UBL station, stated that CS3 approached him/her and said, "Boss, something is bothering me big time. We," meaning the United States government, "could have prevented the 9/11 attacks." CS3 then outlined the CIA intelligence that showed Hamzi and Midhar had attended the Malaysian al-Qaeda meeting, that the CIA knew in January 2001 that both men had multiple entry visas to the U.S., and that his FBI colleague had written a report on the future hijackers that was not distributed on orders from one of the analysts at the UBL station. CS3 gave his supervisor a draft of the report. The supervisor, a male, asked who else knew about it. CS3 said just him and the colleague who wrote it. The supervisor said he then contacted FBI Deputy Director for the Counterterrorism, Pascal D'Amuro, saying he needed to meet right away. The supervisor hopped in his car and at high rate of speed drove to FBI headquarters while he met with D'Amuro and gave him the secret UBL report on Hamzi and Midhar. D'Amuro read the cable and then told CS4, "I will take care of this." The declaration says CF4 noted that Diamuro never mentioned the cable's existence again. A short time later, though, CS4 was promoted out of the UBL station to a senior liaison position outside of the FBI. He hadn't asked for a promotion and told Canestraro that he felt he was moved away from the UBL station because he knew about the existence of the CIA's secret report on Hamzi and Midhar. CS4 added he believed he was moved to ensure he kept silent. Ex-FBI agent CS23 said that when the FBI became aware of Omar Bayoumi's affiliation with Saudi intelligence and the CIA recruitment operation through Bayoumi after 9/11, senior FBI officials suppressed investigations into the above. CS23 also told me that FBI agents testifying before Congress's joint inquiry into the 9/11 attacks were instructed not to reveal the full extent of the Saudi involvement with al-Qaeda. Canestraro's declaration states, the declaration does not say who ordered FBI field agents investigating 9/11 not to interview Saudi nationals or other agents to lie to Congress, or why. Okay, again, this report is important. I know I went over a lot here. It might be easier if you read it. Go to the c-find.com website, c-find.com website, and read this report here. What's going on, folks, is people are rolling over on each other. They're starting to do, they're blowing some whistles here, and they're starting to blame each other. But either way you look at it, information is starting to come out, and it's interesting how it is happening. Now, one thing that people may have forgotten is that in 2017, there was multiple arrests of Saudi officials, and that the previous crown prince lost his crown prince status. That's Al-Walid. Al-Walid is the previous crown prince, and he was arrested. And there are some interesting thoughts that he may have been possibly one of the major orchestrators behind this and working with many around the world, and that the new crown prince bin Salman is now the crown prince, and there's a lot of hypothetical going on at what could that's may have been partially what happened with the Las Vegas terror attacks that happened, the massacre that happened. And also there's some thoughts about President Trump, when he was in office, was possibly working with the new crown prince bin Salman, who was at that time the deputy crown prince and was the very first person that visited him at the White House from out of the country. Anyway, if you like this video, I know it was just reading a report, but I wanted you guys to hear it, make certain you listen to it, and to please, please take the time and look into it a little bit deeper. I think this is pretty significant. So please take the time to do that. A little bit at a time, things are happening, people. Hang in there. God bless.